Releasing in Australian cinemas on November 21st is a new Australian film called Strange Creatures. And it's my great pleasure to be speaking to the writer-director of Strange Creatures, Henry Boffin. Henry, welcome to Movie Metropolis.
Hi, Peter. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great to talk to you. And I was so intrigued by this film about these two disaffected brothers and their journey and their experiences. What was the inspiration behind the film?
I think originally the inspiration came from a road trip that I did with my own brother quite a few many years ago now. As two British kids who were over in Australia, we were attempting to do Darwin to Perth in about 10 days, as a lot of British people do when they come over. They don't really kind of comprehend the size of the country that they're in. And so it meant a lot of days of solid driving. But it was interesting that dynamic of I think being English as well, but also the film deal discusses a lot about how men communicate and how we can learn to open up to each other and talk about our emotions. And I think that's just something that's definitely evolved with the men in my family as well. And I think that road trip was a great time for me and my brother to kind of talk about things that we just never discussed before, which is it's so funny sometimes with with women as well, but with men especially, how you can live so long with someone, a friend or a brother, and oddly know so little about them. And I think that was one of those sort of great inspiration moments that kind of that initially inspired that. And I think now just because now all of my family live in England, I'm the only one over here. I think communication and nostalgia are just two of those things that have really um, been in mind and being keep coming back and recurring in my work and my writing.
How interesting to hear that background. So tell me about the challenges in developing the screenplay and the dramatic beats that we see as the film progresses.
Definitely. Well, I think one of the things with this film is it's a very personal story, but of course, when you say it's a personal story, there's always got to be embellishments with drama, and especially when you're talking about family, it's one of those interesting things because there are moments, there are dramatic points which are definitely drawn from life, but I'm the first to stress that this family is a far more dysfunctional than my than my than my own family. But there were definitely points, other points. My grandmother was really ailing with dementia at the time, and I think a lot of people and families have been afflicted by dementia. So that seemed to be quite a natural element to put in to kind of be the catalyst that brings these estranged brothers back into each other's lives. Um, and also, with a road trip, um, and this sort of the tone that I wanted to accomplish, which is a very, I'm a big fan of sort of understated comedy and quite dark humor, but for a lot of it, it was just letting the characters run the narrative in a way, and I think that's like what all great character road comedies do is that they let these two very opposite brothers, one's the alpha male older brother who's got those very traditional masculine sides to him, but also has a kind of secret sensitivity about him. And then the other, who's the younger brother, Nate, who's this very kind of proud pansexual man who's very kind of out of place in the country and doesn't kind of enjoys his creature comforts. And just as soon as you thrust these two who've been apart for so long together, and the natural frictions of family dynamics and of brotherhood just bring so much of the joy of that to life, and that was really exciting and fun to explore. But I also think if you're not there was definitely moments in that gave me a massive cathartic rush, and I think if you're not writing and you're not feeling kind of scared sometimes when you're writing, then I think that's how you know that you've got a good scene is when you're writing something you actually feel that creep go down your spine or whatever. That's like this is hopefully we're going to make other people feel this emotion too.
Ah, very good indeed. I like that. So, how easy was it to get production behind you, to get financial support and all that sort of thing? Because there's a fair bit happening in the film.
Yes, yes, yeah. Too much, some might argue, for the budget that we had. Yeah, so it was all privately financed, and we kind of scraped together all the budget for this. So it's a true Aussie indie film. But I will say, my massive hats off to our absolutely formidable production team, producer Rachel Forbes, and Riley Nottingham as well, who's also one of the stars in the movie. I think I gave them 30 to 40 locations to deal with because obviously it being a road movie, there's probably more than that tomorrow. They'll probably be the first people to say actually it was it was a lot more than that. But I gave them a lot to juggle with, and as a lot of people know, organizing locations with not much money, especially of that magnitude, is a heck of a lot to do. So they really rose to the challenge though, and just kept producing all these miracles out of hats for us to work with. So although all of the locations in the film are all within I think around a 45 minutes from the Melbourne CBD because that's all we could afford to get to apart from one night in Broadford. So it was a real kind of a magic act, really, of making that look like the breadth and span of the journey, all the way from Melbourne to Narrabri in New South Wales, which is the journey that the brothers go on. So, yeah, I do not have enough superlatives in the dictionary for that wonderful team of Rachel and Riley.
Ah, how interesting to hear the locations and that it was all filmed closer to Melbourne. And that black hearse was quite a star in itself.
Yes, yeah, absolutely love the hearse, and I think as well it's kind of a little bit, I love the iconography of the imagery of this, this black hearse just kind of driving through the iconic Australian outback was something that was just always very important to me visually in this film. And it's also a little emblematic of the mother's character as well, because she is, even though she passes away at the start, she is a constant presence in the journey, which I think is just was just beautiful. And we had our excellent Phil Smith, um, who was our hearse expert, um, and Phil, he runs a specialty funeral service and hearse hire company, and is a professional hearse hire driver himself. And we reached out to him, and he had this wonderful kind of old 90s. I think it was back when they used to take a kind of a Ford, and then just lop off the back of it and then just attach the rest of the hearse onto it. That's how they used to make the hearses back in those days. But it's a beautiful like character hearse. And he was always on set with it, and all the actors who drove it had to go through some very quite strenuous hearse driving school, because apparently it's quite a challenge. And yeah, I'm not surprised actually. You forget sometimes. I think that you've got all of that all of that on the back. So, but yes, no, fantastic.
Ah, all the bits and pieces that go into making a film. How interesting to hear all that. Now, tell me about casting, Johnny and Riley and so on, and how you worked with them to get their characters right.
Definitely. Well, Riley he was on from the beginning of the film. He was one of the producers, and he gathered some of the financing. So, and I've known Riley we worked together on a comedy series for Channel 9 called Metrosexual together. So we've got a little bit of history working together. So Nate was, to a degree, written with him in mind, and is almost an amalgamation of myself and Riley. Um, I would say that Nate has quite a lot more is foibles than Riley, but that's to be expected. And then Jed was Johnny Carr, who plays Jed. That was a casting call out, and Barrett Casting was in charge of that. And I have to say, the first time I saw his audition, I was just kind of blown away. It would be very easy, and I think a lot of people, did lean into this of him being this alpha male sort of true blue Aussie bloke character. and it's easy to kind of lean into the rough edges and the kind of the anger that goes with that character, which is inherent in that character. But Johnny just really played it straight off from the beginning with this beautiful sort of wounded, this confusion, this bemusement at the world, and this sadness, which was just so beautifully Jed. And I think as soon as I saw that, I just knew straight away that he was perfect for the role. Um, and yeah, with them we had a so he lives in Newcastle. He came over to Melbourne for a little bit, and we had a bit of work with Riley and Johnny together. And then they didn't see each other for quite a long time until the shoot, which was, a little by design because I wanted that idea of, when they first saw each other again, and it was like brothers reconnecting. And you can definitely see, and I love it, the dynamic of their characters was almost similar to the dynamic of them as people, in that we tried to shoot all the stuff where he comes back to the house for the first time. We try to make it that order so that that relationship was developing naturally as the shoot was going as well. Um, which I think was beautiful, and I think one of the first scenes where we got to see the true kind of brother bickering dynamic, which is the first scene where Nate reveals to Jed that they're going to be driving in a hearse. And I just remember seeing that for the first time and letting them have a little go at improv and the little bits of back and forth bickering that just really gave an authenticity to this brother dynamic. And that's the one thing I love, that you can a sibling, that odd sibling relationship where you can be screaming at each other one moment, and then the next moment it's all is forgiven and it's just back to normal. That kind of unspoken uh, forgiveness, and unspoken sort of details that go on. But yeah, it was fantastic working with them both, and yeah, can't can't praise them enough.
Yes, no, they did very well. The relationship develops really nicely. Did it take long to shoot?
Yeah, it was just over 20 days that we were shooting. So not too long. It was pretty quick. Again, mainly the budget kept us streamlined. But yeah, and being able to shoot all close to Melbourne helped with that as well. That we weren't having to go to round the country or anything like that. As much as we might have wanted to if we'd had a bit more money, but hey.
Fair enough. No, I really had no idea that you didn't actually travel into New South Wales or to and so on. So that was well done.
The movie magic. I will say there was one day where we did go. We did a B unit day where we went out with the hearse and the camera, and we did go over the border that day. So we did, but only by a little bit. But yeah, actually, we wanted to have at least some. We wanted to say there is. This is shot in New South Wales as well. So
Fair enough. No, that's fine. Tell me, what made you decide to settle on the title Strange Creatures?
yes, the strange creatures is actually a quote from it's a Jane Austen quote. Oddly enough, it comes from Mansfield Park, and it was just one of those things I stumbled on when I was just kind of finishing off one of the drafts of the script. And it's from a section where she says the main character in Mansfield Park is saying, lamenting what strange creatures brothers are. And it's about these two brothers, one of which is called Henry, so that seems that seems nice and ominous. And it's about how they only ever will write to each other or communicate if there's news such as a relative has passed away, and they won't talk about anything else. They won't talk about emotions, and they won't talk about that it's very much transactional rather than interactional. So, and I just read that and I thought it had such similarities with the themes in the movie. um and I do think that, yeah, all families are full of beautiful strange creatures, and it just kind of seemed to fit wonderfully. And yeah, and it went from there. But yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, now what was it like? Because this is your feature film debut. As you said, you've done metrosexual television streaming, all that sort of thing. What was the transition like to being a director of a feature film?
I mean, TV is very sort of go, go, go. You've got to get everything you need to get done. And it's very much, you go on and it's much more of a factory process. There is still creativity involved, but it is much more about, let's get the actors on, let's work out this scene, let's get it in the can as quickly as possible. And it does feel a lot more like that sort of mechanical process. It's still a lot of fun though, and especially playing with comedy. We made sure with Metrosexual that we had the time to do some improv, to make sure we had our improv takes and gave the comedians time to do that. But then when you're moving on to a film, obviously it's kind of such a different you still need to move fast, but it's a different kind of pace in terms of you need to get what you need to get, and it's more about that vision, really, about getting that authored vision um, across. So I think that was definitely, it's definitely enjoyable having that power, I suppose. But being able to kind of look into how to craft your vision in a more authored way and structured way, which was really really fantastic. And and you have this whole beautiful crew here there to support you and bring that vision to life and giving their own ideas and collaboration. And that's the beautiful part of it, really, is finding these wonderful creatives who have such talent and how they can build on your idea to make it, or your vision to make it even better than what you originally thought of, which is truly fantastic.
It is very good indeed. Now, I know it's so important to get the film out there, and it's releasing nationally in Australia November 21st. But it's also screened or about to screen at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. And tell me about any reactions you've had and where else it has screened.
Yep. So as you say, we're filming at the Oh, sorry. We played at the Melbourne Queer Film Festival, and also we had our premiere at the wonderful Queer Screen Film Festival over in Sydney, which was fantastic. We've also had screenings in Western Australia and Cinefest Oz. As well as a Hong Kong lesbian and gay film festival. So it's been getting out there around the world. I've absolutely loved being in the audience for the screening so far. I mean, it's just hearing the laughter and like seeing where the laughs come is always such a brilliant. Like you have your own personal favorites, but also, you watch it so many times that after a while you nothing. You're like, is this even funny? Is this amusing anymore? And to get it in front of the audience just completely revitalizes you, and just really really is such a beautiful thing. And I hope people do go see this. I hope they do laugh. I hope they do cry. I hope they get out at the end and feel like they have to call their siblings or their mum and dad to check in on them, because that's definitely the sort of message. And I hope they check in on their male friends as well, because that's definitely the messaging of the film is we have one family, and they may be strange and we may be odd, but we're united by the fact that we're all strange creatures.
What a great comment. Yes, I like that. So, Henry, I'm intrigued. What made you get into filmmaking, television, etc., in the first place?
I initially was dead set on being an author when I was a child. I would notoriously sit down at my parents' computer and type out about two lines of a novel, and then get bored, and then move on to the next one. And I think my parents were quite amazed when I actually got over a page into a book once. They were like, "Oh wow, this idea must have some staying power." But I think after a while that naturally just progressed. My love for kind of just the moving image, combined with telling story, just then progressed into filmmaking. Um, and I was also helped by the fact that my dad bought home from a business trip. He bought home a camcorder. For, I think I must have been, only about 10 or 11 at the time, but it somehow kind of became, I kind of took charge of it. I don't know if that was the official, yeah, it was the family camcorder, but I kind of took possession of it and would kind of make all my friends come round on a Thursday afternoon and make films and do long running series. We took it all very seriously, is the thing. I think we were only about 12 or 13, and we kind of thought we were this really crack production crew. But I just loved that. It was like a form of play, really, back in those days. In a way, it's we had no intention of putting it anywhere. It's just kind of a way of using your imagination and playing. Um, and then you get to watch it at the end and have a laugh at how silly you were, and you get to bore your parents by showing it to them and saying, "Oh, isn't this great?" But yeah, so that's just extended. And then when I came over here, I went to the Griffith Film School up in Brisbane, and had a fantastic experience there. And then, yeah, since then moved down to Melbourne, which is now where I'm based. And yeah, I've just fallen in love with it and don't really want to do anything else.
Fair enough, fair enough. I'm just wondering if you have any particular films or filmmakers in mind as maybe as templates or exemplars for the way you approach making films.
Very good question. I think I am a big fan of Alexander Payne is one of absolutely loved the holdovers earlier this year, and Nebraska was also one of the kind of references for Strange Creatures, especially with that sort of understated kind of comedy stylings. I really love how he uses the camera. His, how he enjoys, he's uses wide shots, but he uses quite, I guess, you might say, simplistic but effective storytelling with his cameras, which is just, I think, when he does something with the camera, it's for a real motive and for a real reason. And when used sparsely, I think a great effect has so much more power. And that's definitely one of the things that I really love about his work. Um, I'm also quite a big fan of like European cinema. I mean, this is going, Krzysztof Kieslowski is one of my favorite directors ever. Um, and although I do, there's quite funny how Kieslowski, I think, has quite a few quotes about how he doesn't understand actors. He doesn't really like which I think is beautiful because yeah, I love actors, but there are, I think there's times where a lot of filmmakers say, it's like um that you sometimes butt heads with them, and it's good. It's so funny to see the great great directors like Kozlowski. I just couldn't understand them at all. Couldn't understand these again strange creatures called actors, but yeah, no, I absolutely love his use of his he's an expert at intertwining mise en scène and production design focus of Kozlowski is just beautiful. But all those films, yeah, huge inspirations.
Okay, excellent. Very much interested to hear all that. And are you, Henry, are you also working on any other projects at the moment?
I am, yes. So I've written the kind of follow up with my wonderful co-writer called Nicholas Clark, who I worked on the TV show with, and that one's actually it's delving a little into the world of sci-fi, which is harking back to some of my short film work back in the past. So it's a science fiction romance that we're currently um, looking to get made and shopping around. So very excited to go back to kind of my roots a little bit with that one and take a step up with this next one in terms of, I guess, ambition and scope. So look out for that one. Yeah, when it comes around.
Okay, which may also feature strange creatures.
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, hopefully, I'm sure that'll be a running theme throughout all, yeah, all of the films. To be honest, I'm a strange creature myself, so that goes with the territory, I think.
Fair enough. Look, it's been great talking to you, Henry. We've been talking to Henry Boffin, who's the writer-director of Strange Creatures, releasing in Australian cinemas on November 21st nationally. Henry, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's been a pleasure.
Okay, all the best. Bye bye.
Thank you. All right, bye bye.